Zen fam. So as you know, I like to travel around YouTube, not just for entertainment to find out what my fellow YouTubers are saying and find out the recent news and stuff, but also while searching for small Scottish gaming YouTubers under 1,000 subscribers to spotlight them through my series #Support Scottish YouTubers. Well, while doing this the other day, I discovered this other gentleman who was raising some topics of discussion, and as a gaming culture YouTuber, it seemed that this was perfect fodder for moi. Now, Mr. Cwavy Gaming, if indeed that's how it's said, admittedly I'm dyslexic, so I may very well have butchered his name. From this point on, we'll just call him Mr. C. So, Mr. C had basically put out this video going, what is going on with modern gaming? I don't understand. Everything just seems to have stagnated. Nothing new seems to be coming out. Why did I buy a PS5? And to a certain degree, I understand where you're coming from, bro. There seems to be a lot of case right now where what did we actually achieve with the 9th generation that we weren't achieving already in the 8th generation? Because when you get right down to it, games are just prettier. Yes, we've got something approaching proper ray tracing. It's not quite true ray tracing, but it's very, very close. And hopefully with PlayStation 5 Pro, either later this year or early next year, that'll improve even more. But games are held back. They've been held back because for the first couple of years you couldn't get a PlayStation 5, and even now if you could get one, it was expensive. Add to the fact also, so you've got the pre-existing PS4 base, which is still needing to be catered for because there's so many people out there. So if you couldn't get a PS5, you're playing on a PS4, and people want to play those games, and game devs want to sell those games, then they feel obliged to make a PlayStation 4 version of those games, even if they run at a lower spec, so at least then they can actually sell those games to make the money to pay the staff to make future games and keep the investors happy. So with that in consideration as well, you also look at the idea that, like, you take the Xbox Series consoles, the X is a beast, it's a powerhouse, it's a beauty, but the S is a potato. That holds back the generation. What also holds back the generation is the fact that since big money CEOs got involved, you have to have all this money floating to the top instead of it being put into development. Pay the developers. Pay the developers. It's that simple. You don't need CEOs. You need some guys to make the games, some guys to market the games, maybe some other people to talk to investors. Then the games sell, you pay the investors back, you pay your workers, you move on to the next project. That's all you need. You don't need Bobby Kotick and guys like him making billions of dollars every single year. Because you know what happens to those billions of dollars? They stay there. You know what happens when you pay developers? They pay their rent, they buy food, they buy fuel for their car to get to and from work, they pay their electricity, they pay their gas, they pay their council tax or wherever it is they're living. They put the money back into the system. It's simple, basic economics. And when they put the money into the system, other people have jobs. And then those people have jobs and they put that money back into the system. And the money goes around and around and around. But with billionaires, it stays there. It stays in the one place. It doesn't go anywhere. It just accumulates. It's all Scrooge McDuck. So gaming needs to get back to taking risks again. There have been great risks in the past, but gaming, like a lot of other industries, has become risk averse, which is killing other industries. Movies are not as cool as they used to be. Look at this here. Show me a movie that's a new movie. Not a reboot, not a sequel, not a prequel. A new movie, a new concept. You're gonna have a job in your hands, aren't you? Aye. And music. I mean, okay, my beloved metal, it just keeps on doing new things all the time. But the cost of making that music and the rewards for those making that music. Wow. And going to see a band live? Oh, God. And it's the same in gaming. Gaming, the cost of it goes up, 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 up. Wages, stagnant. The cost of everything, utilities, food, rent, you name it, everything's up for the likes of you and me, the average person on the street. So of course, naturally, the price of gaming goes up. And if it's Microsoft you're talking about, then Microsoft itself is a rich company, but Xbox is functionally broke right now. Yeah. It's got no money. Microsoft has gone, oh, you spent all this money, what you doing? We need to make some of this back. So we're going to close a bunch of these teams, we're going to rise the price of Game Pass, and day one of first party titles, we're taking that out of Game Pass. Which is one of the main reasons people bought Game Pass. It was one of the selling points of Game Pass. Was that you would have the games day one because you paid this monthly fee or yearly fee or whatever plan you decided to go with. And the money that's going and being spent on these games, once they've been made, isn't going to the people that make the games. It's going to the high ups. It's going to your Bobby Kotick's and such. Now, I know Kotick's in the industry, but he's a classic example. It's going to CEOs. CEOs do not make games. Sorry to pop that bubble, but CEOs don't make games. That simple. It is that simple. So, how do we improve the current situation? We improve the current situation by kind of taking it back about 10-15 years. Look at how things were back on PS2 and PS3. Now, yes, okay, games were less complex and took less time to make. That is still going to be a fact because we have come to expect certain things from our games. I mean, if we're spending 500 quid for a video game system, you best believe that when you put a game on that system, it better look and or play phenomenal. It doesn't have to be lifelike, uncanny valley leaping graphics. But having good looking games, regardless of art style, well functioning games, games that come out feature complete. Oh my god. Games that actually sell themselves because of how good they are, by word of mouth, not by some social media experiment. Games that are made by humans, not by AI that basically steal, because that's all AI does. It doesn't create, it steals from everywhere, mixes stuff up and spews it back out. That's why everything in AI looks broken and generic, because it's remixed stuff that's already happened. It's nothing new in AI. So, what does gaming do? One, it goes back to basics. It goes, we pay people to make video games. Video games come out, we sell video games. Those games are used to pay the staff that make the games. That is number one step. Number two step is to bring out games that actually are functioning. Don't require microtransactions, don't require umpteen patches along the way. Great. Next step, we get back to focusing on physical media. Because digital media, as good as it is, as fast as it is, as convenient as it is, technically killing the industry. It just technically is killing the industry. What else do we do? Sony, this part's for you, alright? Do what you do best. Microsoft, do what you do best. Nintendo, do what you do best. In fact, Nintendo, you're fine. You're pretty much doing everything you need to do. Alright? Could be better, obviously. But basically, Sony, look. The gold rush of the live service game, it's over. Okay? There's Fortnite, and there's Call of Duty, and there's, Apex Legends. There's all the live service games we're ever going to need. There might be updates in the future. There might be a Mark II of that game from the same developer. But you're not going to catch up. You're not going to capture the zeitgeist. It's gone. It's over. Concord will not be a success. Concord is a nice game. Yes. Concord is a well-functioning game. Yes. But that ship has sailed. Do what you do best, Sony. Single player, strong narrative, well-constructed worlds. That's where you are best. God of War, Infamous, Last of Us, Uncharted. I could go on. Games that have a solid story to tell and a solid character to put them around. Spider-Man, the upcoming Wolverine game. Days Gone. I mean, you've got this, Sony. You know what to do. Do it. Stop getting distracted. Alright? Support the system. Bring out new games. Cut off the PS4. It's time. It's had an extra 4 years after the PS5 has come out. Now yes, you have maintained your usual promise to look after the previous gen for a good while after the new gen comes out. But Sony, it's been 4.5 years since the PlayStation 5 came out. I think you can actually get away with stopping making games for PS4. Now, I love this idea that's been floated of PS3 integration into PS5 ecosystem. Brilliant. However, we all know what that means. That means that we'll be able to play some of the PS3 games digitally off the store and we'll have to buy them again. Because there's no way that you're going to bring out an ability for us to play those discs. We know what you're like, Sony. We know what you're like. And that means that because of restrictions of rights media and stuff, we know that we're not going to get a lot of those games back. And some of those games that we want back, we'll never get back because those servers are shut down. But there are a lot of games that could come back and we want them back, but we know that we'll probably only ever get them in digital format. And with that, will probably actually, after a couple of years, end the people that want to go back to PS3, because it won't be enough. There won't be enough games, and you'll have squandered that opportunity as well. Xbox, you're great at online games for the mass populace. You're great at gathering together resources and putting stuff out. So get games out. If you're going to buy all these studios, stop closing them and make the games, release the games. And yeah, put the games on PlayStation, put the games on Nintendo, put the games on Steam, become a publisher. And if you want to stop making consoles, I can see why you would do that. I mean, the last 2 generations, you haven't been able to sell more consoles than Sony. You sold more consoles than Sony in the 7th gen at the beginning, but when the 7th gen was over, PlayStation had got back the title. You fought a good fight, Microsoft. You've made some good machines, you've made some great controllers, you've done some good stuff, but your heart, I don't think, was ever in it. You were in it for the money. I don't think you were ever in it for the creativity. Now, don't get me wrong, you came up with some great concepts, and there were some interesting moves you made along the way over the years. But I think, largely speaking, largely speaking, Sony basically took it. Now I know you're going to go, but Zenbloke, you're a PlayStation owner without an Xbox. You'd be bound to say that. That argument could be made, but I think if you've actually spent any time here on the Zenbloke channel, you'll know fine well that I am not a pony. I am a Sony fan, yes. Fanboy, no. How many times on this channel over the years have I ever given Sony a verbal smackdown for some of the nonsense they've pulled? Countless times. Countless times. I have given Sony a bloody nose on a good number of occasions because I, as a Sony fan, are able to acknowledge when they have mucked up. And they've mucked up plenty over the years. Believe you and me, ladies and gentlemen. So, getting back to basics, making games and supporting the hardware. You need to support PSVR 2. You need to support PlayStation 5 with games, with services. You need to support PlayStation Plus with good quality games. If you expect people to give 100 plus notes every year for PlayStation Plus medium tier, then it needs to be good. It just does need to be good. You put out Saints Row and Gotham Knights on PlayStation Plus, knowing full well that the industry, the critics, and the gamers at large all know that those two games were at best subpar. They were grind fests with empty gameplay and pretty graphics. I know, I played those games and they're not particularly fun. They're serviceable. You know what they are? They're like the looter shooters. They're like the hero shooters. You know what they are? They're work. I have a job. I don't come home to eventually, hopefully, get on my system when the wife's not got the telly and play work. I want to play games. I want to lose myself in another world, another reality, and let life go away. Let stress go away. Not think about, food and utilities and travel and my eventual demise. I want to just take my brain away from everything for a little while. And I use games to do that. Some people use movies to do that. Some people use music to do that. Some people, do pottery to do that. I'm a gamer. We're gamers. That's what we do. We play games to enjoy ourselves. For a little while. I can be a mythical warrior in a strange land, or a cyberpunk hero, or a wanderer of the wasteland, or an alien creature, or a magical animal. I can be all kinds of things. But what I don't want to be is a worker when I'm not at work. Hell, most of us don't want to be workers when we're at work. So yeah, games have gotten samey. Games have gotten kind of repetitive and kind of formulaic. So we need to get back to take a chance. Which is why we need to remove the CEOs, because the CEOs want their payday. And they get their payday when everything happens as cheaply as possible, and when they're able to fire staff for creating games that are a success. Yeah. So what we really need is we need to get back to the basics of gaming. We need gaming to be about gaming again and not just about, cash generation. We need to remove rich CEOs out of it and just get it back to games being made by people for people. We need games to be affordable. We need games to be accessible. But most of all, we need them to be creative and fun. And that means taking chances. Yes, chances. Chances are expensive. But that's art. And games are art. I have argued this in the past, and I will argue it in the future. Games are art. Treat them as such. They are human endeavour, not AI. AI can get in the bin. AI just nicks human endeavour and remixes it. That's all it does. It's content theft. Simple. So, you know what else we need to do? We need to have systems that have more flexibility. We need to have systems that actually utilise the power that they have. And we need game controllers that last more than 3 hours of battery. And it is way past time. It is way past time for Hall effect sticks. It is so tiring to send in a controller to be fixed, or to have to buy a new controller if you can afford to do so because of stick drift. In 2024, we're supposed to have all this technology, we're supposed to have all this understanding, and yet we're dealing with stick drift. Really? So, in conclusion, bring back some of the thinking and models of the PS3 generation. Couple that with the technology of now. Pay your staff. Ditch your CEOs. Get back onto physical media. Stop worrying quite so much about the social media uproar of a game. Concern yourself with the art of what you're doing. Concern yourself with the players of that art, the enjoyers of that art. Become about the community again. And quite frankly, if you do these things, I don't see you going far wrong. And if that means that you have to start shifting away from the office environment and go to at-home workers, so you don't have to rent office buildings anymore to bring down costs, and workers will be happier because they're more relaxed because they don't have to commute. They get to spend more time with their families. They get to actually do more sleep. I mean, let's face it, commuting is stressful anyway. These are all positive moves that games companies can make, and allowing unionization, even to the point where if the company runs things well for the workers, for the joy of the consumer and the worker cooperatively, then you wouldn't need to have unions because everything would just be nice. I mean, gaming is supposed to be the technological future. It's supposed to be where things are better. It's the newest form of media that we have ever come up with, apart from social media, which is basically just, gossip sections, really. Social media is the electrification of the garden fence. That's what social media is. Just with video. Okay? So, when you get right down to it, gaming is the ultimate expression of art and culture. Treat it as such. Stop treating it as a cash cow. Stop treating it as a marketing move. Stop treating it as the billionaire's plaything. And remember that humans buy games, play games, make games, share games, do games. Remember the human element. If you remember the human element, then quite frankly, if you're selling to humans, you can't go far wrong. But if you start treating people like sacks of walking money, then people are going to walk away. It's that simple, games industry. Thank you, Cwavy Gaming, for Cwavy or whatever it was, for letting me have such an interesting point to talk from. If you ever fancy a collab or something, hit me up, bro. And of course, as always, hashtag support Scottish YouTubers. Aye, nae bother.